Work. Dom Amore from the Hartford Courant, and he covers UConn sports and Major League Baseball. And Dom, how are you?
Hey, Dom.
Yeah, well, I'll be there.
Yeah, we're here.
We got you.
Let me ask you about watching the Yankees, and it just seems like we've been traveling down this road for a while, where very similar lineup every night, very similar results. Every now and then they'll break out. They finally get Aaron Judge back, and they think he's going to save the day. But do you
on what saving looks like? Could 3 or 4 trades, a couple of bats, maybe edge them past somebody into the third wild card spot? Maybe. It's possible. And do the Yankees want to give up on that because it's not something that they generally do, is just punt on a season? But could 3 or 4 trades make them powerhouse that's a threat to go all the way? I mean, barring some kind of fluke run? No. This team is a long way from being a championship caliber team. I mean, as you mentioned, we've been traveling down this road for a long time, and that goes back to really the All-Star break of last season. They were a 500 team, maybe even below 500. The second half of last season, they won a playoff series, but were swept in the second. And they've been around 500 basically all this year. So they're a mediocre team, a middle of the pack, middle of the road team. And in fact, you take out the games against Kansas City and Oakland this year, and they're even less than that. So I think if you look beyond their record and what the eyeball test tells you, it probably tells you the Yankees should punt on this season and sell if ownership decides that they're willing to do that and kind of jilt their season ticket holders.
What are your thoughts on the New York Mets getting rid of the 2 old aces, Scherzer and now Verlander, just about an hour ago? What do you think of the Mets in the future, and maybe what do you think Cohen has learned after running the team for a year?
Well, I think that they're doing the right thing. I think it was time to punt on this season. It was time to collect some prospects. I think when you put all of your eggs into the basket of 2 40-year-old aces, it's a risk. I mean, if those guys were both had the kinds of years that they've had when they were in their prime, it would be great, and then you'd have both of them ready for the postseason. But that wasn't the case. So I think the fact that they were able to cut their losses and get out from under those contracts, although I'm sure it's costing them a lot of money, I think that was probably a good thing. They also collected a lot of role players who make more money than other teams' payroll players. That's a Canna, a Fan, people like that. These are players, some of their bullpen pieces, and these are guys who can help a contending team, and they're wise to get the prospects that they can out of that. So I think they're doing the right thing, and I don't think that they're necessarily giving up on 2024.
Hal Steinbrenner, he puzzles me. His brother died, so he basically is the lone guy running the shop right now. Yeah. He questioned the fans, like, "Hey, we're playing pretty well. Why are you so upset?" Last night they were booing the hell out of the Yankees, 30 strikeouts in 2 games. I can't blame them for doing that, but he puzzles me because I think Steve Cohen's smart enough and rich enough to say, "Okay, we made some bad decisions. We're going to move on." When does this guy realize that the analytics department is really, really destroying this team from the inside out?
It's could you even fathom his father saying anything like that?
Right.
It was the other way around. The father would be more upset than the fans were, when they were in first place if they lost a couple of games. I think that he tries to run the team. He tries so hard to prove that he's not his father,
right?
That he's not as impulsive or impetuous as his father, and he doesn't, fire people at the drop of a hat like his father. People think his father did that. Maybe he did that in the 70s and 80s, but certainly not over the last 20 years or so that he ran the team. I think he's so anxious to prove that he's kind of a sane, sober, level-headed owner that this is what you get, a guy that basically doesn't do much of anything and puts everything in the hands of his baseball people and doesn't really question them. The analytics, somebody made a point on social media the other day, and it's kind of true. It's kind of oversimplified maybe to say them the right way, or they're overusing them and not trusting their eyeball at all.
Well, what I mean is that however they've vocalized this or showed the hitters that it's okay to be this mediocre, whoever is saying that philosophy, that's what I meant, is killing this team.
I think that those are kind of moves that were kind of aimed at messaging to the fans that, hey, we're not all about analytics. We are going with some eyeball test a little bit. But the thing that I know just slayed me, probably slayed you too, was the idea that hey, Josh Donaldson has the 5th best barrel rate in the major leagues. Guy was hitting 130.
Yep.
A lot of guys hit the ball hard and hit it right at people. Hey, it's all about results, and we don't care how you get there. And if you don't get there, you're done. To all results are random. It's the process. The pendulum's got to swing to the middle of that. I think for a lot of teams, but particularly for the Yankees, results matter. And if you're not getting results, you're not good enough. That's what that means. So, the analytic, they need a completely different approach. I think the Yankees do, and honestly, it wouldn't shock me if Brian Cashman went to another team and had success because he's a smart baseball guy. But I think things have kind of run their course with the
issues that never got moved. Shohei obviously got announced. That really started the ball rolling on the trade deadline. Bellinger's been announced by the Cubs. They're not moving him. Juan Soto still available. Padres don't look like they're moving him. Tim Anderson, we've speculated the White Sox are going to dump him. Who are you surprised that they haven't moved during this trade deadline?
Maybe San Diego. I thought San Diego would probably go and say, what, we tried it. It didn't work. Let's punt on it. But, with these 3 wild cards and the idea that, like the Yankees, you could be in last place and only a couple of games over 500, but still have a chance. Their fans are long suffering. Hey, if you're the Angels, and you could stay a couple of games out and you've got this fabulous player and you've got Trout maybe coming back later in the year, up on the season. The Yankees and are kind of right in that no man. Whether you buy or sell, because they're close enough to be in it, but they're playing poorly enough to believe that they're not going anywhere. And those are the teams that have difficult decisions to make. But some of the other teams that maybe are like the Angels, maybe trending in a better direction of late, hey, keep these guys and go for it. If you lose them for nothing, get the 2 tied draft picks, and but try to win while you got them. I applaud that. I don't like fire sales, to be honest with you. Sometimes they make sense, but to me, if the Mets were 2 or 3 games out, I would say, hey, don't trade any of these guys. They're 7 or 8. So that's kind of where I am on that. I'm not shocked that anybody that's within 3 or 4 games of a playoff spot goes ahead and tries to stay in it because, hey, look at the Phillies last year. There's always somebody that barely makes the playoffs that gets hot. And I know it seems crazy, but suppose the Yankees just kind of sneak in and get that 3rd wild card, and now you got Garrett Cole and Rodon. I'd rather see teams go for it than punt it away. That's what these extra wild cards are supposed to be about.
Talking to Dom Amore from the Hartford Courant, covers UConn sports. Jim Mora said Power 5 Big 12 would benefit UConn beyond football. Do you feel, or
Arizona State, Utah, etc. Probably stay put, and then maybe they add a San Diego State or somebody like that, and you restore the Big 12. If the TV deal does not look good, and you see Arizona. It doesn't hurt basketball the way the American Conference hurt basketball. I think it helps women's basketball, and we have some marquee matchups to go to every year there. I think it helps them. And baseball could make UConn, which is already a player on the national stage, could make % right on that. You're not killing basketball to save football. If you do it, you're saving the whole athletic department, which runs big deficits and probably can't keep doing what it's doing if it doesn't make a move like this. So, I think it's something. UConn is in a pretty good position. And we'll see probably sooner than later if they're going to be in a great position.
I can argue, too, for men's basketball that you're adding some really good programs. Those are going to be some really good games. And I understand, and Moore made mention of this, too, yesterday, and you know it, Dibbs knows it. Everybody's going to have a weird problem with moving out of the Big East once we were in the Big East, and it all revolves around the men's basketball team, every other sport. And you're right. I totally believe that. To Europe for UConn men's basketball team. I'm sure we've done this in the past, and my history isn't as good as yours on this, sir. But what can this do for the team and making them better for next season?
Well, I think you have a kind of unique situation in that you have a team that's just won a national championship. You have a team that, but has major components of that championship team are gone. You have some exciting new components coming in. So the need to bond, the need to have shared experiences is probably greater than it might be for a different type of team. So I think it's a good chance for them. They've spent 3 or 4 months being, feted everywhere and glorified everywhere with celebrations, parades, first pitches, all of these things. It's time to kind of shut all that down and get back, really get to the grind of building a new team. And I think this is a great way. It's a good thing at the right time for them to do this, because now they could get away from all the adulation here, get away from all that, stop hearing about the championship, and really start thinking together, alone, sequestered, to a degree about what's up, what's coming. You know, I guess this will almost be like one of Dan Hurley's pool parties on steroids, right? Yeah, be a pool party in Monaco. It'd be pretty nice. But I think it's a great chance for them to kind of build chemistry and bond away from a lot of the headiness and the distractions and the giddiness that they probably still experience when they're traveling around Connecticut.
Who does throw the best first pitch on that team? Saw a lot of them.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, Donovan threw a good one. Of course, he has baseball experience. I thought he was going to go all the way up to the mound. He didn't. Hurley threw kind of a Jamie Moyer first pitch. Wasn't too bad. so that he didn't do a bad job with that. I think Tristan skipped it. Right, I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he skipped it.
He had fun.
It's a good thing Sonogo didn't do it because from what I heard from their softball outings, he might be the worst baseball. Have the worst baseball aptitude anybody's ever seen.
Oh, no.
I'm glad he wasn't around to do that. That might have been a YouTube thing.
There you go. Dom Amore, you're the best. Thank you so much for always coming on and adding so much to the show. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dom.